Hey guys, it's Gina. I just wanted to talk to you for a little bit about emotions and specifically emotions related to our faith, our prayer life, our chemical makeup of our brains, um, what emotions do to us and the chemistry of our bodies and our hormones, and how essential oils might be helpful in that. The reason that it's important for me to share these things with you is because when I very first started using essential oils, I didn't even explore the emotional side of oils at all. I didn't want to hear about it. It sounded new age to me, so I actually was really shied away from it. I just thought I don't even want to hear about that. It all sounds a little bit weird to me. Um, the more I've studied and the more I've learned about what emotions do to your body and the chemical reactions that take place in your body when you have different emotions, the more I'm open to learning about it. So, for example, we all know that when a mother is breastfeeding her baby, her body releases hormones called oxytocin, and those hormones help her to have a warm and fuzzy feeling towards her baby, and it helps to bond with the baby, and it's just this overwhelming feeling of love. And that's a chemical reaction that's taking place in her body because of emotions that she's feeling. And then we all know that elevated cortisol levels happen whenever you're in really stressful situations or whenever you live in really stressful lifestyle for a long period of time. Those cortisol levels go through the roof and it causes you all kinds of problems. So stress, that actually causes chemical reactions in your body. And we've all heard of serotonin and what that does to your body, and that's a good thing. And so your body releases different hormones at different times based on what you're feeling. Chemical reactions are taking place in your body. Because of that, it makes sense that if you smell essential oils, or really any kind of scent, because your olfactory system is connected to your brain and your emotions, it's going to release different kinds of hormones, such as if you smell chocolate chip cookies, you might be reminded of grandma's house and have great memories come flooding back, and you all of a sudden you feel better. And that's the emotional part of it, but there are actual chemical reactions taking place inside of your body. So it's not something to be afraid of. And the other thing is, this was just me. It's not like I was taught this, but there are different phrases in the Christian world growing up and as a young adult that really kind of stuck with me and shaped the way that I viewed emotions and whether or not I allowed myself to feel emotions. And one of the common things that I heard over and over was, you can tell how strong someone's faith is by the way they stand up under adversity. And if someone seemed to be crumbling under the pressure of something, then there was just this kind of feeling like, wow, their faith must not be very strong. And I don't know if that was something that I perceived or just something that, an assumption that I made, but a lot of times we hear phrases like that and then we don't want to admit our emotions and we don't want to even think about them or give a name to them because that might mean that our faith is not strong. And that's absolutely not true. God created us with emotions. Jesus himself had emotions. He wept. He cared for people. He had real emotions. And that didn't mean that he had a lack of faith. So there's nothing wrong with emotions, and we do not need to shy away from that topic. And the other thing when it comes to emotions and prayer, whenever you're praying through emotions, that I have found helpful just recently that has opened up a whole new way for me to connect with God is guided imagery. So at first, guided imagery was another one of those things that I thought, this is weird. It's like new agey. And then I started thinking about it and I thought, okay, so if I am imagining putting this trouble or this concern, this situation in a ball, which someone last week told me that this is a good practice to do. So you imagine there's a situation that you don't know what to do in this situation. You need clarity. You really need clarity on the situation. So imagine that you just put that situation in a ball, in a clarity ball, and it's kind of like got a basket, kind of like a hot air balloon. You send it up to God, and then you just let go of it. You put all that stuff in that ball, send it up, let go of it, and know that God's going to take care of it, and he's going to give you an answer. At one point in my life, I would have thought that that was new age mumbo jumbo, and I would have not wanted to deal with that. I just would have thought, that's too out there for me. That's not what we're supposed to do. But then I was reminded of all of the guided imagery or the metaphors in the Bible. So think about what the Lord calls himself. He's a strong tower. He's a good shepherd. He is a potter, and we are the clay that he is molding. He gives us all of these examples so that we can experience him in a different way. Some of us are visual learners, and we experience things by seeing them. And so whenever he made his word so rich with detail and all of these metaphors to describe himself, they were very intentional. And there's no difference in that than in saying, I'm going to put my whole family or this whole situation in this clarity ball, and I'm going to give it to you, Lord. I'm giving it to you, and I trust you that you're going to give me clarity in this situation. I remember when we were struggling with infertility years and years ago, before our first was born. We struggled with infertility, and people just kept telling us, if you just had enough faith, you would get pregnant. Well, first of all, there's theology behind that I don't agree with, but also to go along with that, I was told, give it to the Lord, give it to the Lord, give it to the Lord. And I kept saying, Lord, I give it to you, Lord, I give it to you, I give this to you. And I didn't feel like I was giving it. Like, I could say it, and I could even journal about it, and I could say those words, but I didn't feel it inside. And if I would have had someone alongside me saying, this fertility issue, put it in your trust ball. Just say, there's this ball of trust. Put your fertility issue in there, send it up to the Lord and release it, and let him answer it in his time. That, to me, would have been more helpful, and it wouldn't have been something scary or mystical or, kooky. It would have been perfectly fine, and the Lord would have honored it just like any other prayer. But because I wasn't able to connect in that way, and I didn't know exactly how to let it go. Let it go. People say that all the time. I didn't know how to let it go. It was really hard for me for a really long time. Faith is also a gift from the Lord, and there was finally a day whenever I was praying with a lady at church, and I felt this overwhelming comfort that my prayer was going to be answered, and at that point I did feel like I released it. So I know that happens, but for 2.5 years I held it tight, and I kept saying I let it go, but I wasn't letting it go. And the only reason I say this is because I want you to not be afraid of using guided imagery. There's nothing wrong with that. My mom used to always tell us when we were going through something really hard, like grief, losing someone, okay, yes, this is really hard, but there are still the practical matters of life that you have to deal with. So sometimes you have to take those emotions and you have to put them in a box and tie them up with a ribbon and put them on a shelf and say, these are very important emotions and I'm going to deal with them at some point, but right now I've got to get down to business. She taught us that, and I've been able to use that, and combining that with the whole idea of putting all those emotions into a clarity or a trust ball and sending it up to the Lord and saying, Lord, I'm not sure what to do with all these emotions, just help me with this. That to me is very helpful. Now, when you combine essential oils with all of this, something pretty cool happens, because essential oils pass through your olfactory system. They get to an area of your brain called the amygdala where all other medications that are meant to help you with your emotions cannot reach. It can only be reached through your olfactory system. There's a whole line of study, so I'm not going to go into all of that, but you should look it up. Really, it's fascinating research. So essential oils can really help with emotions, and not in a kooky way, in a way that if you breathe something in and you're praying about it and you're having that guided imagery, Lord, take this from me, whatever it is. It might even be the picture of him, Lord, carry me, I want you to hold me, picturing him with his arms around you, and while you're smelling a certain essential oil that was created by the Lord, a plant that was created by the Lord to be a comfort to you and to cause chemical reactions in your body and to cause different hormones to be released. It's a powerful thing. So I would encourage you to overcome your fear of learning about that side of the oils, if that is a fear for you. If it isn't, that's awesome. That's not something that you have to overcome. Maybe there's something else. But I know that for the longest time, it was a stumbling block for me. And I know that I've spoken with a lot of Christians who feel like it's a stumbling block because they say things like, you're giving more power to the oil than you are to the Lord, or you're worshiping created things rather than the Creator, which is absolutely not true. The Lord creates so many wonderful and beautiful gifts for us. And yes, we can turn all of those things around into things that we worship instead of Him, but that doesn't mean that the thing is bad. It's our attitude towards the thing. And He created foods to nourish our bodies. He created plants to do just that same exact thing, and also for our spirits. And there's nothing wrong with it, including that in your prayer life and in your faith walk. So I just wanted to encourage you in that, and just I'm going to be sharing from time to time the different things that I'm learning, because I wish that somebody would have shared them with me, and I hope that it touches just even one person. And if you ever have any questions, just feel free to ask me.